Hey guys, how you guys doing? I mean, hi guys, how you guys doing? I'm live. I just want to rant a bit. This video is being done between 3 and 4 in the morning, and that's the time when you should always be like alert and awake. I don't know. I'm studying it. Something about the monad, which is the actual God, uploading things or awakening you with things or something. And the archons, which are the actual bad people, don't want you. They want you to sleep between 3 and 4. Actually, you should be awake. And this is comes from kind of the Gnostic version of the Bible, which I too tend to think at least is more relevant than the traditional version of the Bible, if not actually true. So there's that. But I want to show you guys something funny and cool and that I learned. I did not make this up, but I learned it at the Escondido Library, Escondido Public Library, about 20 years ago. So this is something I learned. And you take both your hands. Watch this. This is cool. You can count to 60 and not miss a beat with your two hands. Let me show you what I mean. Let's say, let's see here. Sorry about this. Take the left hand. Now you've got 4 fingers and 3 digits on each finger. So you can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 with your thumb. And that put up 1, that's 12. Now 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Put up 2 fingers. 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36. Put up 3 fingers. 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48. Put up 4 fingers. 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60. Put up all 5 fingers of your right hand. So you can count to 60 with 60 unique positions of 4 fingers with 3 digits and 5 fingers on this hand, 5 fingers on this hand. Of course, you can do it on this hand and count this hand with this too. But I think that's interesting. It comes from the fact that 3 times 4 times 5 is 60. 3 times 4 is 12. 12 times 5 is 60. But 12 divided by 2 is 6, and 5 times 2 is 10, so 60 is also 6 times 10. It's an interesting number. 60 is interesting because it's 6 times 10, but it's also 12 times 5. You can go all the way around the clock is 12, but there's 5 minutes for each number, so that's 5 times 12, which is 60. But you could also go 6, 6, and 6, which would be, wait, what would that be? I guess you'd go 6, 6, 6, 6, 6. That would be 30, and then 6, 6, 6, 6, 6 would be another 30. So you know, it's another way you could go around the clock besides 12 and 5. So I think that's cool. Let me just rant a little bit here. Yeah, I'm really happy with my guitar playing. I may have even added a 5th breakthrough. I'm a 4th breakthrough. Sorry about that. I had the first one, which is tapping in 1983. Second one was alternate picking in 1995. Third one is I just picked up slide guitar. And then I thought that was it. But then when I did my last jam, I called it Rock Solid, but rock is spelled R-O-Q. I picked up whammy bar stuff. I really started using the whammy bar full effect. Kind of like Steve Vai, maybe Satriani like to do. I wasn't copying their exact licks, but I know they like to use the whammy bar, and I was using that. So is that the 4th breakthrough? Did I have 2 breakthroughs in one here? Did I get whammy bar technique and slide guitar and whammy bar technique? Is that 2 separate breakthroughs? And does that make 4 breakthroughs? I'm not sure, because does whammy bar count, or does that just go along with vibrato, which is cool too, but Let me discuss vibrato for a second now that I mentioned it. So that's why I put the question in my post. I put, did I have just two breakthroughs, which is alternate picking, tapping and alternate picking, or did I have three breakthroughs, which is tapping, alternate picking, and slide guitar, or did I have four breakthroughs, which is tapping, alternate picking, slide guitar, and whammy bar? So I put it up to you guys. You guys can tell me what you think. Vibrato is interesting. I learned vibrato. About, I'd have to say, maybe 10 years ago. Before 10 years ago, I hardly had any good. I did not have good vibrato. But I was thinking about 10 years ago. That is, I was thinking about Eric Johnson's video called "Total Electric Guitar." It came out in 1990, and he was talking about Eric Clapton's vibrato. So he's telling me about Clapton's vibrato secondhand through Eric Johnson. I've seen Clapton talk about it too. He talked about it, when he was in 1968. He did an interview in the Cream era. Eric Clapton. He was talking about vibrato. He said it takes years and it's very difficult. But he didn't really go into that much detail. But Eric Johnson did. He said he used the fulcrum of the hand. Not so much the fingers like this, but the fulcrum of the hand, and you twist the hand like this, and you really get the whole wrist involved. It's like a wrist thing. It's not so much a finger thing, like just like this, but even though that's part of it, because you have to hold the string down with your fingers, but you do it with your wrist. And I got that 10 years ago. And what's funny about that is that because vibrato is very bluesy in nature, it makes you feel like you're playing the blues. And because the blues is supposed to be music that comes from sorrow, hence the name the blues, I had the blues for like 3 months when I learned vibrato. I just was feeling like I was in a bluesy mood, not just musically, but I actually felt blues. I felt like I felt oppressed. I felt kind of saddened. I felt down. I felt trodden. And all that for about 3 months. And then after that, I just kind of slowly got over it. I'm over it by now, I think. Now I'm adding whammy bar. And two people that are great commented about vibrato and whammy bar. You guys may not think I think like this, but here it is anyway. George Lynch was doing an interview in the 80s or 90s. And he said, he was doing an instruction video. I think it was the one when he had gained some weight, but then he lost the weight when he really started exercising. And by 1995, he was all chiseled and good shape. But he said that you can use the bar along with vibrato as a vibrato device, and you can use the bar. He called it in lieu of picking. In other words, instead of picking, you can use the bar because it yanks the string. And you can actually use the whammy bar instead of picking. Like you don't really have to pick if you're doing the whammy bar a certain way, because you can go one, and you don't even have to pick. He called it in lieu of picking in his, I think it was 1993 or something like that, George Lynch instruction DVD he did. And then Richie Kotzen, of all people, he's a shredder, right? Really good, great shredder. He said that in the 90s or 80s, he said that you can tell your soul of a player through vibrato. It kind of reveals your soul. He said you can tell a lot about the person's soul when they're playing by their use of vibrato, and maybe the whammy bar, maybe mention the whammy bar too. And that was important, It's not just the way you play fast and pick. Your vibrato kind of brings out your soul. And Richie Kotzen said that in the 80s or 90s. So cool things, vibrato and whammy bar. I just kind of, and Steve Vai's famous talking guitar technique uses a lot of vibrato, but it also uses the whammy bar as well. It's not just left hand vibrato, it's also using the whammy bar. So all kinds of vibrato going on with Steve Vai's talking guitar thing. And then Steve Vai, I remember an interview he did in the 80s. It might have been the one in 1986. Maybe it was later than that. I'm not sure the date, but it's called it said it was Guitar Player or Guitar World, and it said the High Priest of Rock Guitar or the High Priest of Guitar, and it said Steve Vai, and it said The Interview. And this is the interview that they did of Steve Vai in the 80s. And he was talking about what was he talking about? He was talking about his whammy bar. He was talking about his talking guitar thing he did on Yankee Rose with David Lee Roth and the Edelman Smile album, 1986. That ever might have been 1990, or might have been earlier, might have been 1988 or 1986, right? Anywhere between 1986 and 1990. I'm not really sure when this interview was. He says, it's not about the notes. He wasn't thinking about notes. He was thinking about just trying to make it the feel to sound like he's talking, but he wasn't worried about the notes. That's his one clue he gave. He wasn't worried about the notes. He didn't think about the notes when he was doing it. It wasn't about that. And then another person that was not just a writer or something was writing about Steve Vai's. I don't know who the writer was. It's just an article, Guitar World or Guitar Player in the 80s or 90s, and it said that Steve Vai's talking guitar technique was very whammy bar induced. In other words, he uses a whammy bar for his talking guitar technique. So anyway, there's a lot to vibrato, and there's a lot and whammy bar stuff, and I'm not sure if this my finally letting go and using the whammy bar means I've made a fourth breakthrough. I thought things come in threes, Uncle Don, as Uncle Don said. Maybe they don't. Maybe there's a fourth breakthrough here for me. The whammy bar, the slide, alternate picking, and tapping. And each of those these the first three. I don't know, not so much whammy bar technique, but the first three breakthroughs that I was discussing about me, all were do or die in my playing. You guys understand that? When my teacher pulled out Eruption in 1986, I've been playing 1 year. If I would have not been able to tap, I would have quit guitar. So that was do or die for my music. I would have just quit because I wouldn't have been able to go further than that. I would have just said, I suck, I quit. But I didn't. I could do tapping. I was really good at it, actually. I did Spanish Fly, Eruption, and a recital when I was 16, and later learned to beat it and all that. Eddie Van Halen, here I go. And then when I learned alternate picking, if I hadn't learned alternate picking, I could never have shredded, and I would have quit because I'd have been a tapper, but I wouldn't have been able to shred and keep up with the Ingves of the day and the Ingves of the world. I would have quit too because I just wouldn't have kept up with the shredding, and I would think I suck, but I didn't. I got alternate picking. And then now, I don't know if I'd quit if I didn't get slide, but the thing about it was I was like, what else do I do? What else do I add to my playing that I can't already do? So it saved my playing in a way, not by being I suck if I don't do slide, but it gives me something else to work on so that I stay interested in guitar and stay progressing, and that slide helped with that. Maybe whammy bar goes along with that. Maybe whammy bar adds to that. Maybe it does. I don't know. But I know slide is definitely that. But maybe the whammy bar is there too. Because I just started using the whammy bar. I just started using it on my last video. I just really liked that effect. So anyway. Yeah, but in the hours between 3 and 4 in the morning, you should, according to what I'm studying, you should stay awake, but you shouldn't clutter your mind. Like I'm looking over the clock to see when it's going to be 4 o'clock, and then I can start moving. I can start doing some more superficial things again. Between 3 and 4, you should be alert, but not cluttering your activities or your mind. Just keep awake, but don't just keep your thoughts simple. Like don't get distracted to the point where you're awake, but you're not receiving anything from the energy of the universe or the monad. So it's a trick. You have to be awake, but not distracted. It's kind of like you have to be awake to receive information, but you can't be so interested in other information that you are awake, but don't take the information. See, the archons actually have a trick, even if you're awake, as they try to flood you with distractions. and then you miss the message even if you are awake. But before they try that, they try to keep you asleep during 3 to 4, because then they win that way. You can't get a transmission or an update. Think of it as an update, or like computers get or apps get. If you're sleeping, you miss, you lose. You snooze, you lose. And that's between 3 and 4. That if you're sleeping, you lose out on what the monad's message of the cycle, of the 24-hour cycle in question. But if you're awake and you're not focused, or if you're awake but you're just distracted and thinking about details and nonsense that clutter your mind, that also makes the monads win in a way, because then you also don't get the transmission. So now it's 4 o'clock. I can kind of start cluttering my mind a little bit again. I was in that zone there from 3 to 4. And what's funny about that is that I was already waking up at 3. See, that's a sign. If you're waking up at 3, naturally, you're already on the road. You just may not know it. And I didn't know it until a few days ago. But I would always wake up at 3 or from 3 to 4. I'd be alert almost every single night. And I didn't think much of it, but that's just my pattern. But then when I read that is a thing, then I found out that that's a thing. I read that that's a thing. Now I know that there's something to that, and that lends credence to the Gnostic version of the Bible, because I know from experience it's true for me. That therefore I believe somewhat in the Gnostic version of the Bible. It's not the traditional Jesus. I'm still studying it, so I'm not an authority, but I'm working on it. I'm studying it a little bit. The Gnostic version of Christianity actually might be true. It's the traditional view, because there's such a thing as the Nag Hammadi, Naghammadi. That's a city in Egypt where in 1945 they found like a bunch of scrolls, like 12, maybe 13. I should know everything, but I don't know everything. A bunch of scrolls that became suppressed by the church people, the official people that made our official Bible, the official Bible, not ours, it's not mine, but the official Bible. In the Council of Nicaea in 325, they decided to take all that real good stuff that was in the Nag Hammadi, later discovered in 1945, just took it out of the Bible. They kept it to themselves. Why should they tell us truth when they can keep it to themselves? People are selfish, people are evil, and people want things for themselves and to deprive things from others. So they didn't give us the real truth with our official Bible. They just gave us what they wanted us to think, to control us and give them power. Well, meanwhile, they have the real text. Okay. But now now not only were they discovered in 1945, but now people are starting to wake up to it. And now it's starting to get circulated. Even in 1945, people weren't ready for it, but now people are starting to get ready for it. Starting to go around the town. It's the apocryphal books. The Gospel of Thomas, the Apocrypha of John, Gospel of Philip. They have these names for the different sections of the Nag Hammadi text, which I don't have. Of course, I'm not a Bible, expert, so I don't have any of those actual texts myself. But I study it, on YouTube and stuff, and I'm learning about it. Christianity is not all I study, so I just look at it here and there. I don't spend like all my time looking at it, but once in a while I have spare time, and I do, and I study a little bit. Anyway, I love you guys. Peace, love, and rock and roll.